I'm Scot Conway, Ph.D, J.D. I also happen to be a master of martial arts, author of a dozen books, producer of a dozen and a half audio programs, including Heroic Masculinity, Complete and Unleashed, a masculinity program that focuses on the sexuality aspects of masculinity, relationship programs, dating programs, and there's this thing coming out now that I think is enormously destructive to masculinity. Let me just play you part of the opening audio. You may recognize it.
Stop crying. Stop with the tears.
Don't cry.
Pick yourself up. Stop with the emotions.
Don't be a pussy.
Don't let nobody disrespect you. Be cool and be kind of a dick.
Always keep your mouth shut.
Nobody likes a tattletale.
Bros come before hoes.
Don't let your woman run your life.
You a bitch.
What a fag. Get laid. Do something.
Be a man.
Be a man.
Grow some balls.
The three most destructive words that every man receives when he's a boy is when he's told to be a man.
Okay, this is a massive problem. First off, the phrase be a man should be a powerful, empowering thing for any boy. If your boy knows what be a man really means, that should encourage him to step up his game, be responsible, take initiative, be assertive. Be a man doesn't have anything to do with posing and posturing. It has nothing to do with violence and sex and pornography and drug use, and that's what some of the proponents of this film are talking about. You need a powerful model for what masculinity is so that you understand what you mean when you use the phrase be a man. If someone says be a man, one of the things I ask them is, well, what exactly do you mean by that? What's the man way? What is it that makes that the man way? And very often, they get stymied. They just get these kind of bizarre ideas in their head. I mean, here's something I do with kids. And this is part of the problem. This is what they're trying to fix. But they're fixing it in a way that's going to break what is working because they're trying to get at the part that isn't. I'll ask a bunch of boys, is it womanly to be loving? If a girl grows up to be a loving human being, is that womanly? They all raise their hand and say, yep, that's womanly. I said, is it manly? If you grow up to be a man, is it manly to be loving? And the only ones who raise their hands seem to be the ones that I train. And I tell, okay, look, I've got my man credentials. I'm a master martial artist. I have the highest rank for someone of my age in my style. Yeah, I've had matches with cage fighters, state level wrestlers, boxers. Yet I can do the fighting thing. I do the regular, I have the education, I have a Ph.D, I have a law degree, I'm a lawyer, I'm trained in conflict. I know how to do these things, and these kids respect me, and they honor me for my strength and my power in that. And so I will remind them that I'm a loving guy. You see me, hug, kiss, and I really love people. I really care about people. Are you saying I'm not a man? But that's not masculine. And of course, you watch them kind of go, whoa, what do I do with that? And sounds like some of the ideas we have of what it means to be a man, the way these ideas come out is, well, I don't want to be a woman. I don't want to be a girl. And they say, okay, whatever they're doing, if I just do the opposite, that must be what it means to be a man. And that's just not true. But when these kids understand what be a man should mean, be a man means take initiative. Be a man means bring in that inviting energy. Be a connecting human being that understands you're dealing with whole people who have whole lives, and you need to get the job done. You need to step out, and you need to make some things happen. You need to be responsible. You need to be powerful and wield that power in a selfless way, and that's what be a man means. Now, here's the great thing about the way I teach this. Men and women both have essentially the same jobs. Men and women can both step out if you know how to do masculinity in a healthy way, you know how to do femininity in a healthy way. Both men and women can step up and they can make things happen and make things happen in a powerful way. They can both be inviting, they can both connect. It's just a matter of how you balance these energies. And you're going to throw out the traditional masculine energy and you're going to focus in on this traditionally feminine energy. What you're going to end up with is a whole bunch of boys that grow up and they don't know what it means to be a man. Now, I don't know what your experience is as an adult, but as someone who's coached and counseled into a lot of relationships over the years, and if you look at my audience, I've got programs on relationships. The Yoda Network has tapped me to be their relationship expert. One of the things that you're going to find is that a lot of women have a complaint about men, that they don't lead, they don't take initiative, they don't fulfill responsibilities. It's like having another kid. That's not what we want for our sons. We want our sons to grow up and know what authentic masculinity is. And it begins with being human, being a grown-up human, and then understanding healthy masculinity and healthy femininity. And they're not opposites, they're complements. And it's a matter of just how you balance it. So video by video, I'm going to be there's just so much in this message that these people are sending out that is so damaging. I'm just going to take it one little clip at a time. And that's just right at the opening. So far, all we've covered is the opening. And we got, what, 6-7 minutes. And all we've talked about is how they're dealing with that phrase, be a man. That's supposed to be a powerful, empowering phrase. And they open telling us that is one of the most destructive things you can say. That's not supposed to be destructive. Not if you, as an adult, have a healthy view of masculinity. And then we share that healthy view with our sons. This is Scot Conway, Ph.D., J.D., Master of Martial Arts for mothersraisingsons.com. Get hold of me personally at scott@mothersraisingsons.com. S-C-O-T, just one T on Scott, at mothersraisingsons.com. Thank you. Okay, this is Scot Conway, Ph.D., J.D., Master of Martial Arts, the leader in mothersraisingsons.com. I do a lot of work in the area of masculinity, and what we're dealing with is this, the Mast You Live In video. We already talked about the part where it says, be a man, it's this destructive thing, and we talked about what it's supposed to be, and some of the damage that I think this message is going to do. And I have to tell you, if people buy into this message and they start to promote this idea, I think we're going to have a lot more problems, not less problems. And in the next generation, as these boys become adults, it's going to be huge. And let's take a look at the very next. We're only like 30 seconds into it so far. Let's see what else they have to say.
We've constructed an idea of masculinity in the United States that doesn't give young boys a way to feel secure in their masculinity, so we make them go prove it all the time.
So why don't we have a structured masculinity? Because we don't have a definition of masculinity. That's our problem. That what we've done in society as a whole, the old school, this is what, my great-grandfather's day, masculinity was easy. All they did is they locked the women out of a whole chunk of life. Only men were allowed here. And if you were there, you were a man. And that was basically what the deal was, and that was easy. I think that was dysfunctional. I think that's a cheap form of masculinity. It allows a whole bunch of people who never grew up, who never really developed a sense of their own identity, to basically just fake it. And I don't like that. The nature of modern society, the fact that men and women are side by side, they're working in partnership, and they're having still relationship, but in business they're in partnership, requires men to be able to step it up and do masculinity right. Do masculinity the way it was always meant to be done. But it isn't being done that way, and it wasn't done that way because men got it cheap. And we have generations that don't know what masculinity is. My own father didn't know what it was. He felt like he did it, whatever it was, but I was very different from my dad. I was 19 years old, and my dad called me to recite. He'd been diagnosed with cancer. He knew his time was limited, and whatever it was he wanted to work with me on, he was going to have to do that quickly. And what he told me when I was 19 years old is, Scott, you are not much of a man. So, he said that to me. Talking about the whole thing of be a man. And he told me, you are not much of a man. And he expected me to figure it out. In fact, what he said is, I can't help you. I can't help you because I never figured it out for myself. And he expected me to step out and go figure it out, which just so happens I did. It took me a while, but I figured it out. I was able to distill down what makes men masculine, what makes women feminine. What if you don't do this as a woman, you lose your sense of femininity. What if you don't do this as men, you lose your sense of masculinity. And was able to sort that out. But my father didn't know. 19 years old, he's telling me. He had 22 years, a head start, and he did not know. It's not a matter of knowing or not knowing this particular idea this video is promoting, thinking men have to be hyper-masculine, macho, tough guys. You need a model. The model is so simple. The essence of masculine energy is initiative. The essence of feminine energy is inviting. And it takes a little while to explain both of those, but men are supposed to have a 2-to-1 balance. If you have twice as much initiative energy going for you as inviting energy, the inviting energy pops in there, it's a supercharge, and a man can really feel masculine, really feel manly, and women will look at him like, whoa, that's a man. Other men will look at him like, that's a man. If they have even a remotely healthy view of masculinity, they will recognize it. Only the most dysfunctional human beings will not recognize that as masculinity, and that's because they're so lost in the messed up version of it that they can't see it. But as they mature, as they live life, and they kind of see how that works in the real world, anyone who's growing up and maturing and interacting in the real world where things actually have to get done will begin to recognize that is authentic masculinity. That is the kind of masculinity you take into the workplace. That is the kind of masculinity you take into romantic relationships. That's the kind of masculinity that makes a great dad. That's the kind of masculinity that leads the next generation. That's part of what we're looking for. And if you have a model for it, the heroic masculinity is power and selflessness, and you wield that power in a selfless way. The model that we use in my martial art is humility over power. The open hand stands for humility. You need to know your proper place, know the truth about yourself, operate in the role you have. So wherever you are, understand where you are in the pecking order, what your job is, get that part done. The closed hand is power. It starts with the power to control yourself, the power to get things done. It's humility over power. You wield your power in your proper place in society, in your proper place in a business, in your proper place in a relationship. I mean, if you're the father, you've got fathering to do. You've got parenting you need to do. If you're a spouse, you've got a partner. You need to work together. And humility over power means we are partners, not opponents. And that's all part of the model of bringing in a comprehensive lifestyle way of doing things that has clear-cut principles, clear-cut ideas, so that you can explain to your son, this is exactly what masculinity is. This is exactly what you need to be as you're growing up. This is the difference between a grown-up and a kid. This is the difference between being masculine and being feminine, being authentically masculine and still just being a boy. That someone who's going to be able to have a good, empowering relationship, someone who's going to be able to make a great husband, a great father, and to be a great partner to someone that they will later on marry and later on co-parent with. And if we get it right, we just need a definition. This whole idea of not letting people be able to have confidence, well, it's because they don't know what they're doing. If we give them clear-cut definitions, then they can know exactly what they're doing. So now here we are, 43 seconds into the video, and I've already invested like 15 minutes taking apart the first 43 seconds. And that's why I'm doing this in a series of short videos so you can watch it in tiny chunks. I'm Scot Conway, Ph.D., J.D., martial arts master for mothersraisingsons.com, and I am really looking forward to you raising your sons to be these heroic, knightly men, to being the nice guy wrapped in strength, and to do it right, and to do it from a position of power and confidence and ability, because you know what it is and you have a healthy view of masculinity, and then you can teach and share that with your sons. Scot Conway for mothersraisingsons.com. This is Scot Conway, Ph.D., J.D., martial arts master with mothersraisingsons.com. Now, in this part, you're going to see another example of how a martial arts insight really helps deconstruct this bizarre idea that some of these boys get, honestly, from a whole bunch of men and sometimes women that don't have any idea what healthy masculinity is. And by the way, it isn't even necessary that the woman has an unhealthy view. But if all the boy knows is, well, I see what femininity is, and especially even if his mother is a fantastic example, says, but I'm not sure what masculinity is. And he looks at mom, says, okay, mom's a great example of a woman, so if I do the opposite of mom, then that must be masculine, because that's feminine. This must be masculine. The opposite must be masculine. That is not what it is. Let's take a listen to the next clip.
Within their peer group culture, each of them is posturing based on how the other boys are posturing, and what they end up missing is what they each really want, which is just that closeness.
Now on this part, do men want closeness? Yes, men want closeness. Male closeness is different than female closeness, and a lot of men want closeness with other women, not just with other men. So it is different. The bizarre thing is they kind of get this idea that they have to be alone, as evidenced in this next clip.
In good times, guys are like really close to each other, but when things get a little bit worse, you're on your own.
Now, first off, that's not true. That's a factor of having people who are withdrawing, they're hiding from problems. Just think about this. Do men step up and work together when just things go bad? Of course they do. Men do that all the time. If lightning strikes my house and blows a hole in the roof in the middle of a rainstorm, who do you suppose is going to be up there? If a whole bunch of couples come, say 5 couples come, and we got 5 men, and we've got 5 women, and we say, okay, there's a hole blown in the roof. Who, honestly, do you expect is supposed to go up on that roof and take care of that problem? Most people would not be at all surprised if all 5 men are up on that roof in that rainstorm trying to get the tarp secured and trying to get that handled, while all 5 women go inside. It would be considered kind of a guy thing. Suppose you flip that around. What if the women got sent up on the roof? The women said, okay, ladies, we're the women of the house. We're the mothers in this family. Let's get up on that roof and get this taken care of. And the guys go inside and they make some food for everybody, and they make some hot tea so people can warm up after coming in, after being off of the roof. They make sure that the kids are okay and comfort any children that might be scared because lightning hit the roof. I mean, would anybody find that a little bit incongruent? I think most people would. Men and women would. Now, if there's a mix-up on the roof, I don't think anyone would have a problem with that. But if all the men said, well, hey, ladies, that's a woman thing, it's the house, it's the family, you go take care of that. We're going to go in and make sure the kids are okay, and we'll have some food waiting for you when you're done. We wouldn't expect that. That would just kind of fly in the face of our internalized, intuitive ideas of masculinity and femininity. Guys do team up. Guys team up when there's problems to solve. Guys work together. Guys partner in business. Guys team up on teams. This idea that just got put in this tiny little clip that when things go bad, you're on your own, that is not how men work. That's not how healthy men work. Healthy men have relationships. Healthy men rally to one another's side to help with the problems. Now, whether you're qualified to help with the problem, that might be a completely separate thing. But guys don't get left alone just because things are going bad. That even when things are going good, some of those guys alienate when things are going good. If it's like a competitive thing, a lot of guys are competitive. And if you're doing a lot better than me, in some cases, an unhealthy man, they'll pull back from you because they're like, I don't want to look bad next to you. So this rallying together or the separating, that has nothing to do with whether things are going good or going bad. It has more to do with how does it make me feel when I'm around you. And that's a human thing. Men do that, women do that. It just tends to show up a little bit differently.
From middle school, I had 4 really close friends. But once I kind of went into high school, I struggle finding people I can talk to because I feel like I'm not supposed to get help.
Now, think about this. I feel I'm not supposed to get help. Where does this come from? Now, I mentioned the martial arts earlier. I'm a martial arts master. When I'm recording this video, I'm an 8th degree black belt. That's the highest rank I'm allowed to have for some of my age and my martial arts style. Just recently, I had a matchup with someone who, in high school, he was a state-level wrestler. He's also done boxing. He's been a cage fighter in Japan. I mean, this guy's got some skill. He's stronger than me. He's younger than me. I'm 48 years old right now. He's in his 20s. He's in shape. He's a Marine. He's a captain of the Marine Corps grappling team. And I'm matching up with this kid. And I can take him. And I can take him, honestly, without that much effort because of the skills that I have. So that's kind of a little bit about who I am. But you know what? There's stuff I can't do anything about. Suppose, this kid makes a couple of phone calls. He gets a Marine Corps recon team to come after me. Does it matter how good I am? No, it doesn't. I'm not going to take these guys. Any warrior knows there are fights that you can fight alone, and there are times you've got to have a team. You've got to have someone watching your back. There's times you need a commando unit. 4 to 8 people, maybe a dozen people all working together. There's times you need an army. I mean, we get kind of this Rambo ideal from, the Sylvester Stallone movies. You got to be able to do it by yourself and handle the whole army. Kind of forgetting the idea that there's a whole bunch of men on the other side of that too. And obviously we can't all be doing that. And sometimes that just doesn't occur because we don't have a healthy model and because we don't know what we're doing. But the warrior mentality, and I had this discussion because some guy I knew, he had this problem. And he's trying to go it all by himself. When he finally came to me for help, it was almost too late. If he had waited another 60 days, he would have lost his house and everything just would have just collapsed. Unfortunately, he came to me at the time I had the ability to help, and we rallied together, and I explained to him, this is the warrior mentality. Warriors understand when it is a battle you should not fight. Warriors understand when there's something you have to have a team. You have to have a man at your side. That you have to have companions. You have to have an adventuring party to go through this adventure. That maybe you're the dragon slayer, you can draw your sword and charge in the battle all by yourself. Maybe you need a commando unit. You need a team of people. You're not going to go on the football field and beat a team all by yourself, no matter how good you are. You got to have a team. And sometimes it's an army level thing that no one person can do this. You need a movement. You need a lot of people. You need a big company, your whole division, your whole corporation to kind of come together for these things to happen. Warriors know that. Authentically masculine men who have heroic masculinity, who know what it's like to be knightly, who know what it's like to have that initiative energy and that inviting energy so that they're complete and unleashed. Those men get this. This whole idea that you got to be by yourself, you got to do it alone, that's not masculinity. That's just what they absorb because they tend to see women kind of getting together and stuff, and they talk about the problems. Well, the masculinity must be we don't get together. We don't talk about our problems. We just need to teach it right. And the people who are promoting this video, they're going to flip it around, and they're going to make the opposite problem. They're going to reverse the thing. There's a saying I have sometimes. You could crash into the wall on your left or pitch it in the ditch on your right. We don't want to be crashing into walls. We don't want to be diving into ditches. We want to drive down this road in the right and healthy way, and so often we overcorrect. It's a whole pendulum going back and forth, and we need to get it on track. This is Scot Conway, Ph.D., J.D., Master Martial Artist for MothersRaisingSons.com. Hello, this is Scot Conway, Ph.D., J.D., 8th degree black belt, 12-time author. There's a resume, and there's a pretty crazy resume there. I'm here today for MothersRaisingSons.com. Now, there's this thing put out by the presentation or the representation project, the representationproject.org. It's called The Mast You Live In. Talks about how the phrase be a man is one of the most destructive things, and that kind of masculinity is dangerous and destructive, and we need to get rid of it, and we need to just not let these boys be men because that's a terrible thing. And I'm just doing it a little clip at a time. I mean, there is so much here, and this is just like the trailer. There's apparently a whole movie coming out about this, and let's just go to the next clip.
Our kids get up every morning. They have to prepare their mask for how they're going to walk to school. A lot of our students don't know how to take the mask off.
Okay, let's just pause right there for a second. Now, is that a boy thing, a man thing, or is that a human thing? I mean, ladies, do you ever feel like you have to put on a mask, that you have to take some part of yourself and hide it? Now, here's the difference. Personally, I think what I call facet masks are perfectly okay. What a facet mask is, it's the part of the real you, the authentic you, that is appropriate to where you're going, and you show up with that. That's what we call a facet. It's a true part of you, and a mask, the part of you that is appropriate to the circumstance. So I'm a lawyer. That's one of the things on my resume. If I'm going to show up and represent you in court, do you want me to show up and front with Scot Conway, the lawyer? Or do you want me to show up with the exact same mannerisms, attitude, style of dress, everything I use when I'm teaching 4 and 5-year-olds? Do you want me behaving like I'm with a bunch of 4 and 5-year-olds? Or do you want me behaving like I'm a lawyer in front of a judge? Both of them are true. I do both. But when I show up teaching the kids, do you want me showing up teaching your children as the lawyer, like I'm in court? No. There's so much to me. I'm not just one thing. It's not like this is who I am, that's my mask, that's me, period, let's go. No, there is so much to me, just like there is so much to you. And we know in life, you show up places with the part of you that is appropriate to that place you are. That's why we dress differently at home than we do when we go to work. We dress differently when we go to the beach than we do when we go to a wedding. This is just part of life, understanding this. Now, where the masks become a problem is that when we're hiding, we're not developing character, we're not becoming, it's a hiding issue. And we're not just bringing the truth of ourselves that is appropriate to where we are, appropriate to what we're doing. We're making it up. We're pretending to be something we're not. And by the way, that whole pretending to be something you're not, that acting, that's what the word hypocrisy means. Hypocrisy means you're an actor, but this isn't real. This isn't true. It's okay if it's a facet of the truth, but it's not supposed to just be a lie. And why do boys posture and pose and do the facets? Same reason girls do. Is the girls grow up with no healthy idea of femininity. Boys grew up with no healthy idea of masculinity. And they just kind of grab these sometimes bizarre ideas and way too often looking at the other side and just flipping it, just doing the opposite and thinking that they've got it because it's the best we're doing as adults. We're the ones letting them down because we don't have a healthy view of masculinity. We don't have a healthy view of femininity. Sometimes, to be honest, we don't even have a healthy view of just being an adult, of just being an adult human being, of understanding what love really is and what character-driven love is and all of these things. It's our generation messing up the next generation. How did this happen? Because the generation before us, they didn't know what they were doing either. We need to take the right answers and we need to pass these answers along. Look, how short of a clip did I deal with it? This is Scot Conway, Ph.D, J.D., 8th degree black belt for mothersraisingsons.com, and I'm just going to keep doing this one video at a time, one little clip at a time. Hello, I'm Scot Conway, Ph.D, J.D., 8th degree black belt, lawyer, real estate broker, author, program instructor, seminar leader, corporate trainer, business coach. I've got this crazy resume. So if you're looking for someone who's got his man credentials, I've got the man credentials. I've got the resume. I've got the education. I've done stuff. I've done a lot of different stuff. So I'm not just, some guy showing up with some fanciful ideas and, some things I picked up in college and moved forward. I'm 48 years old. I've lived life. I've got 4 sons that I'm raising. I'm married. I've got the stuff going for me. And so I'm not just coming from an ideological standpoint. I'm in life. I'm living life. I'm getting stuff done. So this isn't just this random opinion. And what we're doing is we're talking about the mask you live in, this video that talks about this idea to be a man is so destructive, that the way we do masculinity is so destructive. And I won't totally disagree with that. I think it's unhealthy the way we're doing it because we don't have a healthy model for it. I have a healthy model for it. That's what I talk about and teach in Mothers Raising Sons. And I teach this. I train people in it. I do small group retreats and kind of VIP intensives and stuff that we can do to really make a difference in this. I hope that even what I'm sharing in these videos, kind of deconstructing this, can really help, because I am really honestly concerned about the damage that the ideals being put forth in this video could end up doing. That in order to solve a problem, they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and I'm handling this as one tiny little clip at a time. We are not even halfway done. Here's the next clip.
What is it you don't let people see? Almost 90% of you have pain and anger on the back of that paper.
If you never cry, then you have all these feelings stuffed up inside of you, and then you can't get them out.
Okay, now let's talk about this for a second. Now, how many human beings do you know? I'm assuming that I'm not just talking to kids here. I'm not just talking to teenagers and pre-teenagers. I'm talking to a lot of adults here. A lot of parents here that maybe have a concern for their children, a concern particularly for their sons. Do you ever have a problem with emotion? Do you ever have maybe hurt, fear, anger that's inside of you? Of course we do. We call this life. Now, sometimes we try to give our kids kind of the idea that we've got it all together. I mean, I don't mind admitting when something scares me. I don't mind admitting when, I don't know. The thing is I understand what emotion means. There's something called the language of emotions. The language of emotions is the key that unlocks emotional genius. So when I'm talking to my kids and they can tell I'm angry or have anger, I can share. Anger means there's a broken rule. There's some way I think it ought to be this way, and it's not that way. And because it's not that way, and I think it ought to be that way, that makes me mad. That's what anger is, a broken rule. Or, there's this thing coming, and I don't really know what to do about it. And fear is something's coming, I'm not ready. And I see this coming, and I'm not ready, and I'm not sure I'm going to be ready. That's fear. That's what fear is. Or then there's hurt. Hurt is damage. I perceive damage is being done. That's hurt. And all of us have this kind of idea that, as men, we're not supposed to have these emotions, but I can talk about emotions and feeling the emotions, but it's because I have such clarity on them. I have a model I can use. It gives me a vocabulary to have these discussions. And all of us have pain inside. All of us have fear inside. All of us have anger inside. We deal with it differently. Modern society gives men more permission to feel anger, but if you get behind the anger, very often you'll find something else. Sometimes it really is anger, that there's a broken rule. But when the broken rule is, this scares me and it's not supposed to scare me, so they mask it with anger. Okay, then you have the rule of anger is, I'm not supposed to be afraid, you're not supposed to scare me. Okay, well then let's go to the fear side and deal with the fear side. Some people have anger because they have a rule that says, you're not supposed to hurt me, I'm not supposed to get hurt. Okay, well, good. Then we know where the anger is coming from. Now let's go to the hurt part. Let's fix the hurt part. And this idea that you have to cry to get it out. I mean, think about this for a second. Crying to get out hurt, trying to express hurt, that can be good. What if the emotion someone's trying to express is this seething rage? How do we want them to express that? We need to be careful. What if that feeling they have says, I just want to kill this person? Well, no, that's not okay. Being responsible means, no, you don't get to express that. You don't get to do that. Or you're the feeling like, I'm just done. I'm done. I just want to kill myself. Well, we don't want them acting on that either. So getting control from a healthy model, we want our kids to have a healthy model of adulthood. We want them to have a healthy model of emotion. Have a healthy model of emotion that gives them a vocabulary to talk about what they're feeling without them having to struggle with all of that. And we have that in the language of emotions. I mean, that's a 24-hour class in the audio programs I teach. It's in my book, Emotional Genius. You'll also find it in my book, Have It All One. And so, I mean, all these answers are here. There's ways we can fix this without throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We don't have to get rid of masculinity. We don't have to get rid of teaching our boys how to be men. We don't have to have, our sometimes what people call mommification. I'm not entirely sure where that word came from. But we don't need Peter Pan syndrome of people not growing up and learning how to act in a mature, responsible manner. I am already having enough women coming to me because their men don't know how to communicate. Well, becoming girls isn't going to help. You need to have a solid vocabulary. We have a lot of complaints of women who are talking about how, where are the great men out there? Where are the leader men? Where are the men that have ambitions, that are stepping it up? Where are these men? Well, think about what we're doing with stuff like this video. We're training it out of a whole generation. We can't do that. Honestly, don't you think things are messed up enough as it is? Let's do this in a healthy way, please. Let's just do this in a right and healthy way. Let's get rid of the bathwater, yes, but let's keep this baby. Let's do the right part. Don't throw out the good stuff with the bad stuff just because people have been messing it up. Let's keep the healthy thing. Let's just do this right. This is Scot Conway, Ph.D., J.D., master martial artist, and the whole rest of the resume. But I'm here today for mothersraisingsons.com. Hello, I'm Scot Conway here for mothersraisingsons.com, and there's a whole resume. I'm not going to get into it again this time. We get to cross the halfway mark on this trailer for the Mast You Live In, this whole idea to be a man.
They really buy into a culture that doesn't value what we've feminized. If we're in a culture that doesn't value caring, doesn't value relationships, doesn't value empathy, you are going to have boys and girls, men and women go crazy.
And this is not the solution. Yes, if people don't value caring, and I've talked about this. Sometimes I ask boys, is it manly to love? Well, the thing is they don't understand what love is. A lot of boys grow up and they think, well, love is this like huggy, kissy, cuddly thing that mommy does with the boys. That's what love is. And then as they kind of get older, they kind of say, well, love seems to be the being starstruck and the hearts in the eyes, and they don't have an authentic ideal of what love is. Love is character driven. Love is learning how to be patient with people. Love is learning how to be kind. Love is learning how to set aside jealousy. Love is learning how to set aside boastfulness. Love is about seeking the truth. Love is, if you want to get down to the simplest version of love and really authentically caring about people, these are the 3 definitions of love I teach. Number 1, I want the best for you. Number 2, I want to be the best for you. And there's more to unpack there. This isn't a lesson on love, so I'm not going to unpack that right now. But is that in the relationship we have and the roles we have to one another, I want to be in the best role for who I am and who you are. And I want to be best at what it is mine to do in this relationship. And number 3, I want you to have transcendent joy. Pleasure is a sensation. It's beginning, middle, end. As soon as the pleasure is over, the pleasure is over. Happiness is a bit bigger than that. Happiness is more circumstantial. Happiness can linger. Happiness, you can have remembering great times. Happiness, the fastest path to happiness is gratitude. Look around for what you are grateful you have right now. Attitude of gratitude. Be thankful for everything you would not want to lose. Look around some things you have right now you would not want to lose. Focus on those and just be thankful for those things. You'll suddenly start feeling happy. But joy, transcendent joy, that is having enough of a grasp of how the world works, how things really work, that even in the middle of the toughest times, you can still be excited about life because you know there's a way to win. That even in the middle of this stuff, there's a reason it all works this way. But the big picture, you know there's a way to win. And that's so much of where joy comes from. And if I love you, it means that I want the best for you, I want to be the best for you, and I want you to have transcendent joy. And if people just understand this whole concept of caring, it's so, what is it about men that says, well, I'm a man, I can't want the best for people. I'm a man, I can't want to be the best. You tell guys that, well, as a man, you're not supposed to want to be the best at anything. Well, most men are going to go, are you kidding me? Of course I do. And as a man, you're not supposed to want people to be happy and joyful. You're not supposed to want people to have a good... That's crazy. Some guys somehow get this idea into this head that they're not supposed to use the love word, and I try to be a little bit more careful with it. But what I'll tell people is like, look, here's the basic 3 definitions of love, and how much of life can also be solved with simple definitions. It means I want the best for you, I want to be the best for you, I want you to have transcendent joy. And so, if you don't like the love word, that's fine. I won't use it. But, let me just tell you this. I do want the best for you. I want to be the best for you. And I do want you to have a happy, joyful, meaningful life. That's what I want for you. And whether you're comfortable with the love word or not, hey, that's okay with me. Just know that it's true. It's not that complicated. But because we have such a poor model of this whole thing, we get lost in all of this. So this is Scot Conway from mothersraisingsons.com, and we're just going to keep going, taking this thing apart one little bit at a time. Hello, this is Scot Conway, Ph.D., J.D., 8th degree black belt, author, program leader, seminar leader, corporate trainer, executive, the whole crazy resume. And right now I'm here for mothersraisingsons.com. I have, by the way, been helping parents with their kids, and with sons in particular, for over a quarter century, over 25 years. I don't know if I look it to you or not, but I am closing in on 50. I'm 48 years old. 49th birthday is coming up not too long from now. And we're looking at the mask you live in, this whole idea that, to be a man is being such a terrible thing, and we're just taking this apart one little bit at a time. Let's look at the next little bit of this. And by the way, I'm not just ragging on it. I'm giving part of the answer. I'm telling you how we solve this. I'm telling you how we do it right. So this isn't just a rant fest. This is no, let's do this right. This is going to break it in a different way. It's broken in one direction already. We're just going to break it in a different direction. I just want it fixed. I don't want to be crashing into walls or diving into ditches. I want to drive straight down this road, and I want to drive straight down this road right. Let's take a listen to this next segment.
I had anger issues in high school. I felt like an outcast.
Okay, let's pause. Anger issues. Does anyone not have anger issues? Where there's things going on, you don't like it that way, you don't know how to express your feelings? A lot of men will use anger, that broken rule thing, and what the real rule is. I have a rule that says I should not be afraid. Well, fear is the real issue. Or I have a rule that says I should not be hurt. Well, then hurt's the real issue. I mean, anyone ever have any fear issues? Anyone have fear affect any decisions in your life? We need to just teach the kids how to deal with their emotions effectively. Boys and girls, men and women. Seriously, I mean, as adults, how many of us could use some help in this? I mean, I have a whole book, Emotional Genius. I have 24 hours of audio training, The Language of Emotions, 101A and 101B, that deals with this stuff. This isn't just a teenage issue. This isn't just a boy issue. This is a human being issue. And a lot of boys, they get lost in this. So let's continue with the clip.
I've been suspended at least once every year I was here.
We would just look for trouble and just like try to fight.
Boys are more likely to act out.
I'm going to pause right there for a second. Okay, so you get social permission to be angry, to hide fear, to hide hurt. And when you live in anger, what's going to happen? Well, the reaction to anger, and everyone does this, is try to impose your rule by force. Well, sometimes we do force by yelling, by screaming, by threatening, and sometimes we do emotional blackmail. Sometimes we'll get physically aggressive. And think about this. Now, in relationships, now this is kind of controversial, but this is what the studies have borne out. When we studied romantic relationships, marriages, cohabitation, and such, they've actually found that men and women initiate violence at about the same rate. The number one level of masculine violence initiating is they will push. They'll shove the woman they're in a relationship with. The number one level of violence most women will initiate with is they will start off with throwing something. That's violent too. And those numbers are about equal. So our boys and our girls are having these problems. It's showing up a little bit differently, but it's showing up in both cases. And this is a human thing. This isn't just a boy thing. A lot of boys just get this idea of you just need to stuff your emotion. No, you don't stuff your emotion. You learn how to control your emotion. But you know what? Girls could use the same thing. I mean, seriously, if you've got something going on and you need to go to work, but you've got some emotion, do you show up at work with all of your emotion, or do you show up at work and do your work? Do what you're being paid to do. Of course you do. That's part of having a job. And sometimes boys get this idea that they have to do it all the time. But what they really need is a little bit of emotional intelligence, some emotional genius, the language of emotions, have a model for it, have a vocabulary for it, so they can have productive discussions. If they don't want to be all touchy-feely about talking about their emotions, it's because they don't have a vocabulary. They don't get a model for it. It somehow seems to be more intuitive for more females to be able to do this than it is for males, and that might be a right brain, whole brain thing. I don't know. But they just need to be taught how to have these discussions, not to have them, but the vocabulary for it, the model for it, so then it can make sense to them. And then they don't have to necessarily be acting out. But yes, boys will tend to behave differently than girls. I don't know if you've raised boys and girls, but if you have boys and girls, you know what? They are different. They're not 100% different. It's like 80-20. It's two overlapping bell curves. You have a lot of women that behave in more masculine ways, a lot of men who behave in more feminine ways, and that's fine. But there is this statistical truism that it's true more often than it's not true. And it's just the reality that we live in. And that's the reality we live in. That's the reality we work in. We don't live in a work just with the exceptions. We acknowledge them, and we do work with the exceptions, but we can't treat the exceptions like it's the rule. So we need to understand these things. Let's continue with the clip.
They're more likely to become aggressive. Most people miss that as depression, or see it as a conduct disorder, or just a bad kid.
Sometimes it is a bad kid, to be honest. A lot of times it is a conduct disorder. But when someone's feeling an emotion, here's the basic thing. Willpower is, I will stick to what is right no matter what I feel. All of us feel like doing things. It's an impulse control problem. All of us, sometimes, we don't feel like working. Sometimes we just don't feel like doing things. The fundamental of adulthood is putting responsibility over how you feel. Willpower is sticking to what is right no matter what you feel. Stubbornness is sticking to what you feel no matter what is right. Now, they can look the same. If someone really believes it's right and someone else doesn't, you're just doing it on emotion, you may disagree in some gray zone in between. But when you do know what's right, you control your behavior, you keep it in context, appropriate to your relationships. This whole thing of going out and looking for trouble, that is a hurting person thing. Hurting people hurt people, and they're easily hurt by people. That is a human thing. And while it might show up in a physical way sometimes with guys, and they might sometimes do some rule breaking at a different level, girls do the same thing, and they do it too. Now, think about your own life. What has lingered with you longer? That you got physically hit, thumped, wrestled, or whatever? Someone did something physical to you? Or did what lingered longest is something someone said to you, did to you, didn't do to you? Where the physical injury is long since gone, but the emotional scars from the emotional aspects of it are still there. And that's huge. And which one do girls tend to do more than boys? Which ones do girls tend to internalize and live with more than boys? The one that lasts longer. So this isn't a boy-girl thing. This is a human thing. Our boys and our girls are doing this. And this is just a matter of learning, again, healthy models, healthy ways of doing it, healthy insight and understanding, being able to walk that out, having clean definitions that don't get packed with the law of unintended consequences. I know that they mean well with this video. I understand what they're trying to fix. But they are going to be tearing apart the part of it that's working, and they're going to be building this whole other thing that has, it's just trouble waiting to happen. And the next generation can get messed up by it. And I know a lot of parents, and moms in particular, they want their sons to grow up to be great men. Sometimes once you get out of your head about your kid being your baby boy, you think, okay, this is going to be a grown man. What do I wish men were? And how do I help my son become one of those kind of men? What do I wish my husband was? And hopefully if your husband is that, that's fantastic. But you have a lot of moms who are raising their boys without their husbands. My mother largely raised me and my brother without my dad. They were still married, but my dad was working 7 days a week. He was working 14 hours a day. Basically, she's on her own raising us. So whether you're a single mom or whether you're a mom doing most of the work, having a healthy view of masculinity is huge. It's huge. And then that way you can raise your son to do that. And this whole thing about the acting out and the sign of depression, I would be careful with that. That what we lack is that healthy model to be able to work with our sons and teach them what life is like. Hello, this is Scot Conway. Still have the whole resume, and mothersraisingsons.com is what we're here for, and we're going through and we're solving all the problems. The Mast You Live In, just the trailer part is revealing. I mean, I haven't seen the movie itself when I'm recording this. It has not come out. But if the trailer is any indication, I mean, this is going to be a huge problem. Now, let's take a look at some of this. By the way, as far as mental health goes, mental health is an issue all around. This idea that so many males have, that you're not supposed to get help if you really honestly have a mental health issue. Back to the whole warrior ideal. I am a warrior. I am a master martial artist. I am trained so that in open hand combat, hand to hand, with all the weapons I'm trained in, I can fight. But you know what? I gotta know when I need help. I'm not going to be able to win every fight. 2-on-1, 3-on-1. A sniper across the street with a rifle. A gunman, all the way on the other side of the room. It doesn't matter how good of a martial artist I am. There's just certain things you gotta have help. And a warrior realizes this. A trained soldier, a trained Marine, a trained seaman, a trained airman should know this stuff. The Special Forces know this stuff. SWAT knows this stuff. I mean, the highest level warriors that we have in our country know that sometimes you need help. Sometimes you need to be the help. Sometimes you got to have the help. Sometimes you got to have a team. Sometimes you need a whole army. That is the way that works. So this messed up idea that some of these boys get, that's not coming from authentic masculinity. That's not coming from that strong warrior knightly mentality, because the actual warriors know better than that. And we know when we need to go get help. So let's dive into this next clip.
I felt like just giving up on life. You know, I actually had suicide thoughts in my head at 6th grade.
I felt alone for a long time, and I actually thought about killing myself.
Whether it's homicidal violence or suicidal violence, people resort to such desperate behavior only when they are feeling shamed and humiliated, or feel they would be if they didn't prove that they were real men.
If you're... Now, pause for a second right there. Now think about this. People resorting to violence only when they feel shamed or humiliated. That's not what I see. I mean, in my counseling as a pastor, I run a lot of people having suicidal thoughts. And you know, it's pretty common, to be honest. What it boils down to is it hurts. I just want the pain to stop. And if I don't know how to make the pain stop, just logically, seems like if I wasn't alive, I wouldn't be hurting. And that's where a lot of that comes from. And so often we deal with it just so backwards. We tell people kind of, you know, the messed up stuff that was at the very beginning of the video. You know, just suck it up. Just be a man. Men and women both feel incredibly lonely. Women's have more social permission to reach out and are responded to when they do. But it's a pain issue. And having people have good ways of learning how to deal with that, of you know, almost any human being I know at some point has been hurting enough that they just wish the hurt would stop. They were scared enough, they just wish the scared would stop. They were angry enough, they just wish the anger would stop. And that logically, I mean, think about it, there's a simple logic to it. If I'm not alive, I'm not going to feel this way. And that's when I'm talking to people who are kind of having these thoughts, you know, I'll talk to them about that. I'll ask them what they feel and why they feel it. And you know, that makes perfect sense to me. Hey, if I was going through that stuff, I might feel exactly the same way. And I'll talk to them about, you know, has anyone else, you know, ever felt the way you feel? Faced what you're facing and maybe found a way out the other side. And once they start having a little bit of hope, well, then it turns around. Boys do commit suicide at a much higher rate than girls do. And this isn't just a matter of getting help or not getting help. That this is a matter of how intensely you get stuck in the how do I solve this? Not having the tools to be able to solve this. Not having the tools to be able to endure this. Not being able to accept the fact that I have this much pain and there might still really honestly be a way out. Or that I'm this lonely or this disconnected. And, you know, and how do I deal with that? What does loneliness mean? Loneliness means that I'm craving a social connection. How can I do that? What kind of social connection can I get? What kind of social connection do I need? And again, it comes down to having the tools. When you have the right tools, you can solve these problems, and you can do so in a healthy way.
Told from day one, don't let nobody disrespect you, and this is the way you handle it as a man. Respect is linked to violence.
Respect is linked to violence? No, respect is not linked to violence. It's the way it shows up because they don't have tools. If we train our sons in manly ways to handle it, you come from a position of strength. If someone's disrespecting you, you know when that turns violent is when it begins to mean something to you about you. And when it means something to you about you, then you step it up. Sometimes it's a simpler thing as, you know, learn how to deal with it from a position of strength that doesn't have to be violence. Violence is counterfeit strength. The place for violence is to deal with other people that are being violent. The place for violence is self-defense. The place for violence is protecting people. The place for violence is being a guardian, being one who guards and protects yourself and others. The place for violence is when someone's coming after your kid. The place for violence is if you're a cop or you're in the military and you've got a job to do. That's its place. It's not to like stand up and not let someone disrespect you. The way I deal with people who are disrespectful of me, sometimes I ignore them. But a lot of times when, I do need to engage, I'll ask them questions like, so, exactly what do you mean by that? And, they'll go on and say, and so now how do you arrive at that conclusion? You're talking like you have a lot of inside information on my life, but I'm not sure I quite know how you're getting all this information. Are you following me? Are you stalking me? Is that what's going on here? And just learning how to do this with words so you don't have to haul off and hit someone. That violence is the resort of someone who's run out of good arguments. And this whole ideal of, like, well, that's what respect is. You got to make them be afraid of you. That's not respect. But, again, they don't have a model. I mean, respect is treat others right. If they're disrespecting, it just means they're treating someone wrong. And if someone's being disrespectful and they have no cause to be disrespectful, it means they have a problem. And they're trying to knock me down because they feel beneath me, and that's why they're after me. And if I get down in the ditches and I just battle it out with them at exactly the same level they're doing, well, then I just step down. Why would I want to do that? And when our sons grow up with this kind of model, then they go, oh, okay, so I don't get into it with them. It still may upset me and may annoy me, but I realize that's his problem. It's not my problem, that's his problem. And this whole thing, it gets huge, and it's dysfunctional. It has to show up that way. And learning how to be mature. If you say, you can't let them disrespect you, and say, okay, well, how are you going to handle this in a mature, civilized way? What is a mature way to handle this? And all of a sudden you realize, well, hauling off and hitting him isn't very mature. You're getting in his face and yelling and screaming, calling them names back. Well, that doesn't show that I'm better. That shows I'm at the same level he's at. And it's a model, again, of teaching. And as a martial arts master, I'm trained in conflict. As a long-time martial arts teacher, I teach people how to handle conflict. And part of our goal is we don't want anybody getting hurt. We're not in it to learn how to beat people up. We learn how to beat people up so we can restore peace that someone else has broken. But our goal is nobody getting hurt. If we can get through a situation and nobody gets hurt, then we win. If I'm on my way home and someone's trying to pick a fight with me and I just get in my car and I go home, I was going home. That means I win. Whatever he was trying to pick a fight over, he didn't get it. That means he loses. I win. If he comes after me, I can just talk to him. I still get to go home. I win. But if I get in a fight, I beat him up, and now I'm in the hospital or now I'm in jail. I didn't win. I might have beat the guy up, but I didn't win. And so that's one of the fundamentals of dealing with some of this violence stuff. Whether you're talking about homicidal violence or suicidal violence, there's a lot of the rules here. How do you win? How do you find your win? And again, it's back to having healthy models. It's back to having healthy principles, healthy insight, healthy understanding, so you can make these things happen and make them happen in a correct and a healthy way. This is Scot Conway from mothersraizingsons.com, and we're going through the masks that we wear, this whole Be a Man video that's going out, and we're only talking about the trailer. I don't even know what's going to be in the movie. I could probably spend a 1-week course deconstructing the movie. Oh my gosh. But in the process, though, I would teach you the right and the right. Scot Conway, mothersraizingsons.com. Hello, this is Scot Conway, Ph.D, J.D, the whole rest of the resume. For mothersraizingsons.com, we're dealing with the masks that we wear. There's Be a Man, there's a bad thing, and there's a destructive thing video. And we're only dealing with the trailer. I don't even know what's in the real movie. We're getting toward the end here. We're going to deal with a few more things here, and then I'll be able to wrap up, hopefully, in the next video.
If I can man up, why step down from that? You feel me?
It's like instinct.
Man up. What's that mean? Well, that's basically the same thing as be a man. But they don't know what that means, and so they have this ideal. Be a man. Man up. But what does it mean to them? They don't even know what it means, and so basically they're faking it, and they're trying to figure it out, and it's all man up. Well, you're a man, and so there's woman, or what's a woman like? Okay, if I do the opposite of what a woman might do, then that's a man. So if you just step it out a little bit differently, the instinct, that reflex, that's an emotional response. Now, if you tell a guy, oh, so you're just acting on emotion. Is that what you're telling me? Most men go, okay, well, whoa, wait a minute. Let me think about this. And if they develop a model of what it means to be a grown-up. So how does a grown-up handle this? Is this how a grown-up handles it? How does a man handle it? Like, how would you want your son to handle it? What risks would you be taking if you handle it this way? and you begin to look at it a little bit more comprehensively, you begin to see, like, oh, wait a minute, there's like a different model going on here. There's a grown-up, civilized, sophisticated, I am a powerful, confident human being. Maybe it's not about violence. It's not about stepping up and getting in someone's face and, you know, basically picking the fight. And I still work with some people a lot. Now, because I'm a martial arts master, they recognize, okay, clearly you know how to fight. So you're never stepping down because you're afraid. How do you handle it? And a lot of my students in particular have watched me in the middle of potentially violent situations just handle people, no threats, no getting in the face, being very respectful, but being very affirmative, very assertive in how I do things, being very positive, connecting with them, respecting someone as a human being, without having to make it into a thing. Asking questions, getting people to start thinking, and it is amazing when you have the right tools, and basically you have this verbal self-defense, this verbal Kempo, and it's the fighting principles, so that you can learn, how do I diffuse it so that I don't get hurt, because you get in enough fights, you're going to get hurt. You get in enough fights, you're going to get seriously hurt. I don't want to get hurt. I mean, why would someone want to get hurt? And and even in my martial arts, I do the be safe, or train safe to be safe, and it's to train safe to be safe. I don't even want to get hurt in my training. Yeah, and I'm really good at what I do. I really am, but I don't want to fight. And just learning how to do that. How do you do that from a place of strength? Clearly, I have a place of strength. What's the technique? What's the style? What's the approach there? Let's take a look at the ending.
So man up, man up, man up, man up. Oh, some fucking balls. Act like a man. Be a man. Be a man. For my kids, I was gonna end this hyper-masculine narrative here.
This hyper-masculine narrative. And the hyper-masculine, first off, if it truly is masculine, and you're just gonna ramp it up to a higher level, that would be awesome. If you're doing masculinity in a right, healthy way. This isn't hyper-masculinity. This is just being unhealthy. This is just being dysfunctional. Let's fix the dysfunction. Let's keep all of the good stuff. And let's just learn how to teach masculinity in a healthy way. Let's get this to really work for us. And let's teach our sons right. Let's teach our sons to be heroic men. Let's teach our sons to be knightly men. To be strong the way we want our men to be strong, and to be able to also be tender the way we want our fathers to be tender. I mean, think about all the key roles a man needs to play in his life. A provider and protector. I mean, sometimes we kind of get too focused on that. But I want my sons to grow up to be able to be great husbands and great fathers, and being a great father means having a baby. So what traits does he need to have to be a dad? To be able to be daddy and be able to work with a baby, to work with a young child. What is all of this, and how does all of that work together? And begin to look at the whole picture of what being a man is. You begin to say, okay, so we need a healthy view of masculinity that encompasses all of this and gets to the heart of authentic masculinity, so our boys can feel masculine, so they can grow up and feel manly and know what that takes. And so the women in their lives, eventually, hopefully their wives, and certainly their girlfriends, can look at them, and the women in their lives will feel like, that's a man. Their female friends in their lives, including the female residents, can look at him and say, he's a man. He just feels like a man to me. Without having to have all this stupid, dysfunctional stuff, but without throwing all of that out. I'm going to do one more video. It doesn't deal directly with the trailer itself, but rather with some commentary for some people promoting the trailer, and I won't need to get into some names on that because I don't really need to pick a fight, but there is some more stuff in there, but yeah, well, we're going to get to it. Scot Conway, Ph.D., J.D., whole rest of the resume for mothersraisingsons.com. Hello, this is Scot Conway, Ph.D., J.D., whole rest of the resume for mothersraisingsons.com. I just finished doing a bunch of short videos, 5 to 10 minutes each, dealing with this whole be a man being a bad thing, being a destructive thing, from just the trailer of the masks that we live in. And I haven't seen the movie. It's not out yet when I'm recording these things. But my wife, heard part of an interview from one of the producers and promoters of this, talking about how masculinity is about drug use, and masculinity is about pornography, and masculinity is about being misogynist and about being chauvinistic, and that's what masculinity is. That's not what it is. I don't know where people get this idea. Now, is it true that pornography is largely viewed by males and that most males like it, whether they look at it or not? Yes, that's true. But is it masculine to do that? Is that healthy masculinity? And I think a lot of us would say, no, that is a common trait. But that doesn't mean that that's what masculinity is. And drug use, and I don't know where she's getting these ideas. There's a huge difference between what happens and what is healthy masculinity. I think that I could probably agree with her that we are in a pretty sorry state for having an understanding of masculinity. That old school masculinity, honestly, was pretty cheap. That the solution was like, well, we just take the women, we just don't let the women in here, and only the men are allowed in here. And so if the man's here and he's kind of doing the stuff we do here, he's a man, and that's what it is. Well, yeah, that's pretty cheap. And you don't have to be mature. You don't really have to be masculine. That your roles kind of defined it for you. And as a society, as a culture, especially at least in the Western world, we've kind of outgrown that. And now there's not a lot of places that women aren't allowed to be. There's not a lot of jobs that women aren't allowed to do. I mean, there's still a lot that are wildly disproportionately male-dominated, just like there's a bunch of wildly disproportionately female-dominated. But we don't lock the other sex out the way that we used to. And so now the men need to kind of step up, and they kind of need to do masculinity right. A radical end of feminism, the end that my mother disagrees with, who is very egalitarian in her view of men and women, but that whole thing of attacking men, that was a mistake. Men are our allies. They are not our enemies. And the part that attacked men, attacked masculinity, ended up beating down a generation of males. And then we end up Peter Pan syndrome, the boys that never grew up. We have all kinds of other dysfunctional things going on. We have men that are kind of running scared in their relationships. And then sometimes you get the flip side. You get men that are over-domineering because they're overcompensating, but they're coming from a place of weakness, a lack of understanding, too much passive aggression. There's all kinds of dysfunctions going on because we didn't do it right. We didn't just develop a healthy sense of what it really is and what authentic masculinity is and authentic femininity. And I think in the 21st century now, we are at the level of society that if we don't learn how to get this right, we're just going to have a pendulum going back and forth. We're messing stuff up this way, and it's going to come back. We're going to mess stuff up this way, and we're just going to go from one mess up to another, and we're just never going to get it right because we're going to get up here, and we're going to have some good stuff, some bad stuff. We're going to see the bad stuff. Whoop, get rid of the bad stuff. And we're going to end up over here. We got rid of the good stuff along with the bad stuff, and now we're creating a whole different mess, and then we get rid of that stuff, and we're just going to keep polarizing, and I think that's a mistake. When I call it, do you want to be driving along and do you want to crash into the wall on your right, or do you want to crash into the ditch on your left? And the answer is you don't want to crash at all. You want to drive down this road. You want to get it right. And that's part of what we're talking about. Now, my wife is pretty passionate on this issue, as you can imagine. Being a woman who has given birth 5 times. She has 5 times she's given birth. All 5 of them are boys. We just had our first grandchild. That first grandchild is another boy. Do you think healthy masculinity is important to her as a mother raising sons? Absolutely. And I have to tell you, when she listened to this clip or watched the clip and she heard part of that stuff on the radio, she said, no, this is going to mess things up. To be a man isn't a destructive thing, because the difference is, our boys are growing up with the idea that being masculine is initiative energy. Being masculine means you still bring that feminine energy, and that's the supercharge. That's what makes your masculine energy that much more powerful. That you need to be powerful and selfless, and that's being a heroic man. Our sons get this. So when you tell one of our boys, be a man, they know, okay, I need to step up my game. I need to take initiative. I need to connect with people. I need to be respectful. I need to be responsible. I need to get it done. That's what be a man means. And that if it's tough, I need to get the help I need, because every warrior knows that if you're in a fight that you cannot win by yourself, or even that you may not win by yourself, you get someone to come help you out, because that's what someone who really knows how to get things done, that's what a man does. So our boys get that. So you say, be a man, to someone that we train to one of the boys that we raised, that's a powerful thing. That's an empowering thing. So when she just heard the opening of this video, she's like, what are they talking about? Why is being a man destructive? What goes next? Is be a woman? And we can't say be a woman either. What's going to happen here? So she had a problem with this, and the discussion and the passion that we had as we discussed that, I just need to go make videos. That we're talking about getting mothers raising sons going, and if this thing's coming out, we need to get the truth out. We need to get healthy ideals out before this thing dismantles the healthy part because they're trying to solve the problem. Instead of crashing into the wall on one side, they're going to just plunge it into a ditch on the other side. That, yeah, we're messing up the car against this wall, and that's causing some damage, and they're going to throw the whole thing off the cliff. And hopefully we can step out with mothers raising sons. We can help get you good, solid answers. In all of my videos, this is not just a rant against the trailer. This isn't just an issue by issue, like, that's just stupid. I'm giving answers as I go. I'm not unpacking the answers. I'm not really honestly educating you very much, but I'm touching on things. And there's a lot of useful stuff in there. If you go back through there, it's not just I don't like this trailer, it's a bunch of garbage. This is the healthy version. This is what we do need to do. And giving you just bits and pieces of that. Authentic masculinity, the way I teach in the Complete and Unleashed, is you have initiative energy, you have inviting energy. Male or female, those two go together. If you have, say, 1 unit of initiative energy, 1 unit of inviting energy, if you bring those two together, that's human. If you want to feel feminine, you stack another layer of inviting energy. If you want to feel masculine, you stack another layer of initiative energy on. There's all kinds of simple, and suddenly when you have this good, healthy model, obvious techniques that once you learn them, they're self-evident. Self-evident just means once you know it, it's almost impossible to argue against rationally. And that's what we're doing at mothersraisingsons.com. So whether you come to one of my VIP level retreats or whether you come for the deep dive into the deep heart of parenting retreats, where we spend a week doing this stuff, or whether you're one of my live clients, or whether you're one of my group clients, or you're just a member in the site. And at the moment I'm recording this, we don't have the membership site up yet. And so we just have the things that I do personally up and running. But if we can get this membership site up, the Complete and Unleashed program is going to be there. The Heroic Masculinity program is going to be there that teaches how to help our sons grow up to be powerful and selfless. And then a masculinity program there that focuses on masculine sexuality. That's probably 2/3 of the program there. Because, that's a scary monster. And if we can defang the monster, if we can have a healthy understanding of masculine sexuality, especially as adults, honestly, to have a healthy understanding of these things, and a vocabulary to discuss the issues and be able to make it something we can actually talk about with our sons and not have it just be this big EBGB issue, so that it doesn't grow up in a vacuum. It's when anything that is so emotionally driven is hidden in darkness, and we hide it in darkness, and then it just sort of grows up all by itself with no guidance, no discussion. That's when you get the dysfunctional stuff. And so answers are here. And those 3 programs I wanted to kind of cycle through on them. Every month, one of them will be available. And so every 3 months, all 3 of them. And then all of my other books and all of my other audios, and to get more and more books available and more audios available, and you'll produce content for you every month. That's my target, to help you raise your sons. And while the focus here is on mothers raising sons, of course, for all of us fathers too, it's, equally powerful for fathers. A lot of men, honestly, they kind of think they have an idea what it is. Some men know enough to realize even if you feel like you're doing it, you would benefit from a vocabulary. So certainly fathers are invited to join us at Mothers Raising Sons. But, honestly, statistically speaking, we deal with a lot of statistical truisms. As between mothers and fathers, mothers tend to worry about this more than fathers tend to worry about this. We have a lot more women who are spending their time raising their sons, and honestly, a lot of women who have been really just reamed over by men and have a lot of man issues, who are trying to raise boys to be men, and who have enough insight and understanding to realize, I've been so hurt by men in my life, I know I've got some messed up views of what being male is. And a whole bunch of those kind of messed up views of being a man shows up in the trailer for this upcoming movie. What was it called again? The Mast You Live In. About how being a man is such a bad thing. And that comes from that place of people who don't know, they don't have healthy relationships with healthy men. And I want better for your son. I want better for all of the boys this whole generation raises. So a generation from now, we can have this nailed. And that's my vision, and that's my goal for mothersraisingsons.com. I hope we can help. I hope these videos can help. I hope we made a difference, and that, you know, depending how much you really got into it, that you got a whole bunch of tools you can already use. You heard a whole bunch of clean definitions you can already apply. Scot Conway with mothersraisingsons.com.